Okay, so tonight we're going to work on the cellophane part. And we have done the apple, sketched the cellophane around, and now we're going to paint it. So the whole idea is to paint in glazes, in transparent color over on top of each other. So we will start with the first value, which is the darkest value that you see here. And the darkest one is, you can see a little bit of it here. So this is transparent. It's actually showing what's behind it. This part that you see right there, the darkest part right there, is what's behind it. It's the wall or the whatever they have, the brown behind it. But we can see a little bit of that kind of cellophane reflection. Same here, right here, and right here, the darks in here. So we don't really have to paint them in or put the color in sections. We can just let's treat it in sections right here. Let's start with this part, which is the dark part. Forget about all of the highlights, all of the midtones, everything. Just go and look at this part, the dark one right here, right here. So what I have here is burnt umber, because the background is burnt umber, and white. And I'm going to go into kind of a brown that is not too dark and not too light. That's hard to... So we're going to take the brown, burnt umber, put water in here because that's glaze. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit of white in the corner of my brush, because if I put burnt umber only, we're not going to see it. That's the background. So I'm going to give it a bit of color, a bit of change of value, and I'm going to make it transparent. Now, another thing that we have to keep in mind when we're doing glazing is that the amount of water shouldn't be too much, because then you will get beads. Like the water will kind of be too transparent. You won't have any paint. So it has to be in a range of medium kind of water like this, where you don't see anything like this here. Let me show you. I'm going to make it do it in the... Oh, darn. Because I want to show you this, it's not working. It's working very well. Okay, here. See that we see it right there? That's because of the surface of the canvas. But the more you put paint in your water, the thicker it will look, the more it will cover. So for the dark part, it's okay. We can just kind of, even if you see a bit of it, that's okay. It's going to dry darker. But once we start highlighting, we need to add a little bit more paint and less water. So let's try. Okay, I'm going to try it on mine. And I'm going to take... And usually if you don't want... There are other things that you could use. You don't have to use water. You could use a glazing medium. For acrylics, you could use clear gesso. But you have to keep in mind, when you're using any glazing medium or clear gesso, the layers you're putting on top, the more layers you put on top, the more kind of a bit of a stickier it becomes sometimes. So I like to use water. I keep the water at the right amount in the paint, so it doesn't affect the paint too much. So let's try here, okay, with this one here that I just mixed. And what I have also is this. This is a grayscale and value finder. So this is the darkest and this is the lightest. So I need to go in between here, and I think what I need to do right now is this value right there. So it's dark right there. So I'm gonna, I have set this color in on my brush, and I'm gonna come here to this part. This is the part that I can, yeah, wait, let's do this. So I can see there, look, there's a hint of the cellophane, hint of color in here. And yes, right now, everything, it's not going to look the same, that what you want to see in there, but it will, first of all, it's going to dry, and when it dries, it's going to dry darker, so it will disappear. And also, it will look like cellophane once we start putting highlights. Let's do this part, because I don't want to put strong highlights over dark. Let's do this part here. Okay, that's fine. That's enough. This is drying fast. Keep an eye on, and also the more layers you put, the thicker it's going to get. So try not to put too many layers on top of each other if you want transparency, if you want it to stay dark. A little bit here. I just kind of touched the tip of my brush with water, so because this is drying. I'm going to come here now. Look at the the sections or the color that the parts right here, and look at them as geometric forms. Let's try to, it's not going to happen exactly the same, and now we're not looking to have them exactly the same. Just kind of as much as close as possible. But honestly, once you start putting highlights, you're not going to see any of that. I can see that this part right here, the one I'm doing right here, and check on your in your reference, check your reference. You'll see that there's no strong dark here, except right here. So I'm going to remove a bit the color I put in there, and there's like a shape right here that is darker. So I remove the paint. The rest, there's a bit here, kind of it shows a bit of dark in there. So I'm going to remove a little bit from this paint with the corner of my brush, and I'm okay right there. This part is the darkest part right there, but although it's the darkest part, there's a little bit of a hint right here. That's because cellophane wraps around that area. This is darker. This area here is darker, right there. This one here, darker. This is okay. This is mid-tone. This is darker. So I'm trying to keep some of the darks showing that I am seeing there. Another little kind of line right here. Okay, good. All right. I'm gonna let this dry for a minute and then I'll come back because I need to add a lighter color right now after this. But it has to dry. Okay, so now let's go up a bit. Let's highlight a little bit more now. Certain areas. I'm gonna start with this corner right here because it's easy for me then to go in. You take my brush, and this is a glaze too, and I'm gonna try and see if this value is good. Yep, it looks good to me.
So you're just adding more white to the burnt umber, right?
Yes, yes, a little bit more white to the burnt umber. So now I'm going to increase that just with the corner, with the tip of my round brush. I added a little bit more white and I'm going to put it here. Don't forget, this is a glaze, so it dries darker. You just have to be patient with this stuff, with this kind of painting. And adjust your, I'm going to put this in here, adjust your values, the values slowly. Dark. Oh.
The color is not white.
No. It's still it's burnt umber with white, but it's not very light. We're still in the same kind of. It's a little bit lighter than what we were doing before. You see, that's the thing with acrylics. We have to keep on adjusting the value or the light and dark.
Yeah.
I'll take a little bit of brown. And I'm just gonna put it here. All right. So usually what I do is I wait for it to dry and then I adjust the color. This is a slightly darker. It's more like a chocolate color, not chocolate, but slightly darker. Now I know there's a strong highlight here, eventually, on this one here. So I'm just trying to use this strong line in here as a guideline for me, because eventually I'm going to go down to here, right there. And I'm going to start working in this in here, in this little space. So now again, I'm still working in the same area. And I can adjust back and forth if I find that, my my paint is too strong, too light, too dark. I can adjust after with some burnt umber and black. Feel like this one here, it's a bit too strong. So I'm going to take burnt umber, a little bit of black, and I'm going to do exactly the same, kind of a glaze, and just soften it a bit. So this part right here is a bit more brown. It's not like the others. Yeah. So I'm going to take just burnt umber and make it into a glaze, not heavy. It's transparent kind of. Oh, that's too much. That's better. And over here too. So sometimes when we're using white with the color, it might turn the color into kind of a dull brown. So it's very easy. Once it's dry, just glaze it with burnt umber. That's it. It just turns the color into a beautiful brown again. All right, so again, with acrylics, I have to wait and adjust the highlights. These highlights right here turned really dark because it's also we're working with glaze. Sometimes when the paint is dry, it turns really kind of darker than what we want. So then I go back and I adjust my highlights. And it doesn't have, of course, it doesn't have to be exactly the same.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Yeah. As long at the end of the when we're done, it looks like a cellophane.
Trust us. We hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. Yes.
The very dark between, what color is going to be? Are we going to add some black?
Just 1 minute. Oh, now it looks better. Now the colors are better. It was too cool. Okay. Sorry, I'm adjusting the white balance because it's okay. That's better. Okay, sorry. Where? What was the question?
The question was the between dark parts.
Here.
Are we going to go again?
Here?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No. I'm gonna keep it.
Oh no.
No.
Oh.
I'm gonna keep it. I'm just working around it, but there's a part that is really dark. I'm not gonna touch it. No. That part right there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. No. But I'm gonna work around it. I'm gonna work with this like now.
Because there are parts really, really dark.
Yeah, we're gonna keep them dark. Whatever we see, and if we go over them and they're too light, we can kind of darken them again.
Oh, okay.
If you find that this is very dark, too dark, then soften it a bit with with a kind of a soft wash of
yeah.
So it's not like really kind of. It will dry darker anyway once you put the color on. All right, so let's go down to this part. Change to right. I'm changing to a wider brush. Okay, so I'm putting a bit more white in my brown at this point. And again, if I find by the time it's dry that the color is too dull because of the white, I can always go over and glaze it with brown, just burnt umber.
Are you using a glaze now?
Yes, it's a glaze. Okay, that's a bit too light at this point, this little thing that I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to remove a bit of that paint. And I'll show you what I'm trying to do. So when I'm looking at the reference, I can see that between this part and this part, or even this part here, there's a bit of a light, soft brown in there, transparent brown in here. So I'm trying to go darker than this line, darker than this, and a glaze. So I'm gonna try to go darker and see how it goes. And also in each one of them, in each one of these sections that we're working on, there are highlights, there are different levels of values. So this here part right there that I have right here is a little bit lighter here, right here. And then it goes in like that, and lighter on this side. And then I'm gonna wipe my brush from paint and try to blend this a bit. We are going to take, all right, we're gonna take a bit of more highlights and highlight this part a little bit like that. And then, so we're getting into a little bit more highlights. Even on this one here, a little bit darker. Even on this one here, we're gonna give it a bit of movement here, just a bit of, so it's not flat, a little bit of highlight. Again, tiny bit of more light, and let's put a bit of light here, right here. We always adjust all of these values once we put the other colors, then you can see them. You can see the values, you can see what needs to be highlighted and what needs to stay dark. Again, I'm gonna highlight a little bit this part. It's dark, it's dry, so I'm gonna highlight it a little bit. There we go. And take a lighter brown now at this point. So a little bit of white in on my brush. White and brown. So when I'm adding my highlights, I add them slowly. I don't jump into the lightest light I'm seeing in there, the lightest color I'm seeing in there, lightest value. I just give myself slowly. I add my light. That's too light. I add my highlights slowly. So again, let's highlight this one. And you can see that I go over one part many times because it dries. And when it dries, I can adjust the values over and over and over again until I get the value I want. Now I can go a little bit lighter at this point. So each one of these sections that we are painting has different levels of values, light and dark. It's not the same everywhere. So you just wait for the paint to dry and then you adjust the value again. And some of them in the same area will have a lighter part and a darker part in the same area. All right, so I'm adding a little bit more white now at this point, like lighter brown. This area, this part that I'm painting right now is brighter than this in like when I'm going to start adding highlights, it's going to be brighter, but I'm doing it slowly, really being very, very careful. I'm darkening my values a little bit now, and I'm going to come here. So in front of me, I have both. I have the black and white, and I have color. And I look at both of them at the same time. So now what I'm trying to do is slowly, I would have to highlight everything you're seeing right now. Everything I'm doing needs to be highlighted slowly once it's dry. So, you know, I add my light slowly in certain areas where I see the stronger light. So I first kind of put a wash, and then I start adding more light to certain areas. So again, so this one here, over on this side, there's a strong highlight. So I'm gonna be using more white with my brown, with the brown, and I'm gonna put right there, and again another one right here, and here.
Like a geometric design there.
Yeah. And over here I can see a little bit more highlight. Not on the whole thing, part of it. And now again. On this part of the cellophane right here, there is a strong highlight right here.
So the highlight is that just white?
No, it's white with brown, but I add it slowly. I add the highlights.
Yes, but stronger. And very light, very pointy brush.
Brush, yes. over on this side, I'm going to add more highlights, but I'm adding them slowly, not fast. So when you see a strong highlight, that's what I'm trying to say. Don't jump into that strong white yet. Slowly. Yeah, add it slowly. Okay, now I can take a bit of more white, put it in the brown again, come here, and again start highlighting certain areas, not the whole thing. I'm going to put a little bit more white now, again, in the brown, and then put a strong highlight right here. It looks white, it's not white. It looks white from the lighting here, because it's dark, it's at nighttime. It is a light brown. So you see here, there is a strong dark right there, next to the light, right here. I'm going to soften this, because this doesn't look right. So I'm going to take kind of a darker brown and a glaze it, make it transparent, and put it here. It will dry darker. It should dry darker. Let me see. If it doesn't dry darker, then
you have a drop of water on the canvas.
Here? It's okay. Thanks. We have to keep in mind, although this is dark in the reference, there is cellophane in here. It's not completely empty. So this is when you connect, when you soften the edges and you remove that strong dark, then this is when it starts looking like a cellophane. I'm going to stop in a minute. Okay. All right, we're done for this week. Next week we'll continue working on the next part right next to it.